Hello everyone. Welcome to today's podcast for those of you who come to this podcast. And now let's start today's topic. In today's episode, I will share with you another wake-up call that has also had a very positive impact on my life over the years, which is about the minimalist living method. Actually, I came up with this minimalist living method before I even saw the journey to financial freedom. Unlike most people, who usually see the journey to financial freedom first and then move on. Because of the need to cut costs, people started to learn more and slowly it led them to this minimalist living method. In my case, it's a bit opposite. I found this minimalist method first and then slowly it led me to the journey of financial freedom. Similar to the journey to financial freedom, discovering this minimalist living method brings a lot of positive values to my life. And in today's episode, I will share with you guys a little bit about the positive things minimalist life has brought me. Now, when I look back at my life in the past, I made a lot of money, but at the same time, because I didn't know how to manage my spending, I also shopped a lot. Arbitrarily, I even had an activity that I look back on now and am very scared. It was a collection activity that was typical of my super collective activity at that time, which was I collected perfume and the sequelae of that. It still exists today in the cupboard in my house. Since I was a child, I have loved the scent. So that's why when I grew up and worked and had money, every time I had money I used it to buy perfume. I bought it innocently, even a few times I bought it just because I liked to buy it, but after buying it a few times I still didn't use it and the consequence is that until today after many years I've given it to countless people and still have about 30 bottles of perfume left. That's just an example and the items in my house are in the same condition. Most of them I bought and used a few times and then put them in a corner and so on. The amount of furniture is increasing. Most of it is lying in one place. It takes up space in the house 5 out of 10 times. I only take it out to use it once and this situation persists until one time I come in. I heard a story shared by a friend. Actually, this friend did not talk about the topic of minimalist living, but through your sharing, I found a keyword that is minimalism. From there I started to learn, and the more I learned, the more fascinated I became. Attracted to this topic because it was so true to my situation and feelings, and from there I began to discover that I am not an exception. There are also many other people in the world. I'm in the same situation as me and everyone is also trying to escape this situation through a life motto called minimalism, and today, after implementing this minimalism motto, I can say with great confidence that this life motto will create a lot of value for everyone, especially young people. The theme actually, to tell the whole story, it will be very long. Maybe I will also do a series of articles like financial freedom, but this time I will try to condense it into just one episode. I will share and keep it in a positive light about how it has brought a better quality of life to my life. If you are interested in the future, I will come back later. Before jumping into the positive things that this life motto brings to me, I want to share with you a concept that is the opposite of minimalism. It is called consumerism, which is basically understood. While minimalism promotes a lifestyle based on what we need, consumerism advocates a lifestyle based on what we want. In economics, consumerism is not necessarily bad because it encourages shopping activities, so it will push up purchasing power. And the more purchases there are, the more taxes governments will collect, and at the same time, companies will also make more profits, and from there they will put the money back into research activities. Research to find new inventions. And from there, those inventions will continue to be used to attract users to shop again, and the cycle like that will continue, and through that the society will gradually improve. That's why. Why do all the economies in the world promote the consumerism lifestyle? If you pay attention, when there are times of economic crisis, one of the first moves that governments will make is to print more money and reduce lending interest rates. This activity is basically to stimulate the economy and, to put it more simply, they stimulate shopping among the people to help the economic engine operate again. So now that you've heard me say this, you're wondering if it creates so much value, then consumerism isn't that bad, and honestly, looking at it from an overall perspective, it's like this. So it's not necessarily that there's anything bad about it, but if we zoom in on each family, the pictures will be a little different. Even according to my personal observation, in many cases it will not be good. Well, here we also know that advertising is one of the industries that brings huge profits in the world. Companies like Facebook, Google are among the largest companies in the world. That is the main source of revenue. Is an advertising activity. Through this advertising activity, Companies around the world day by day pump into our subconscious things that are sometimes not necessarily what we need, and everything up to this point is not really what does it matter if people still spend within their financial capacity. However, it doesn't stop there, and one of the greatest inventions is consumerism. Using the great or terrible word is the credit card. Since the invention of the credit card, consumers can shop more than their financial capacity from now on, brothers and sisters. Maybe take the item you want home and debit it, and then you can leave it at the end of the month to pay it back later. If at the end of the month you don't have money to pay, you can beg the amount. That debt will come the following month, and of course you can repay this interest, and this interest is one of the main sources of revenue for the bank, and I have read the statistics. For the past 1 to 2 years, the average person in the US has been in debt with an average credit card of more than $6,000 per person. But that's just credit card debt, not to mention other debts. So people carelessly shop and carelessly get into debt, so they have to try to work to pay off debt. If they are doing the job they like, they won't say it, but there are many cases where they just don't like it. Because they have money to pay off debt, and because they do such jobs, after those stressful working hours, at the end of the month when they get paid, do you know what they do to reward you? They go shopping to reward themselves with certain comfortable items, and the more they shop, the more debt they get, and just like that, the cycle keeps running over and over again, and in that cycle, the more companies sell more products, the more taxes the government collects. The only target audience is consumerism. Those are consumers, and the bad news is that companies, neither the government nor the company, wants to help us escape this cycle, because they basically need the economy to function like that. From the perspective of these two groups, if two such systems operate, it will be better for them and better for the overall picture. But if we switch to the consumer's perspective, the picture is not very bright, especially for those who do not know how to manage their finances. There is a very famous movie called The Matrix. That movie is about a fantasy world where everyone is sleeping, and what they feel every day is control. Controlled by a server, and all humans at that time were in that system. Only a few people could wake up and escape. I won't go into too much detail just in case you haven't seen this movie. When I learn about consumerism, sometimes it feels like it's not very different from the movie, in which most people are born and raised and are caught up in the flow of buying money and debt. This means that companies and governments will set up according to those statistics. Up to 70% of working people do not like what they are doing. There are even statistics that say it is up to 85%, and for these people, every day they wake up to go to work is a very long day for them, and they only look forward to the time they get off work, and at the same time, advertising activities are constantly pouring in everywhere. Into their ears are messages like you are too tired from work and rewarding yourself with this or that product. People listen to it over and over until at some point unconsciously, and we also agree that those products will improve our quality of life somewhat, but in fact, they pull us deeper into that cycle of consumption, and from there it continues to make us worse. Our lives decrease in quality even more. So how do we escape this endless loop? In my personal opinion, it will be through two tools. The first is financial freedom, and the second is the minimalist living motto. So why? But I said the minimalist living method helps us get out of that loop. First, to start, you guys try this small activity. Open your wardrobe and see how many clothes you buy that you don't wear very often, and there's actually a statistic for this, which is the average per person. Normally, they only wear 20% of all the clothes they own, meaning that on average, up to 80% of the things they own just sit in a corner this year or that month. Month after month. However, we still continue to shop and buy more things. Similarly, now for those who have moved out, please look around your house to see how much you currently own. Items, and how many of them are in there that you actually use regularly, and how many are in a corner collecting dust. I think in the vast majority of cases this number will be more or less. This situation will create two problems for us. First, obviously, it is a waste of money. But more importantly, the second problem is that owning too much stuff will greatly decrease the quality of our life. The first and most obvious thing is that our homes are more cramped and cluttered. This alone, according to scientific research, affects our emotions and health. There is an interesting study that shows that there is a reason why people like to vacation at resorts, because in addition to the beautiful scenery there, besides, in those places, everything is more tidy and comfortable than their messy house, while in fact, everything should be the opposite. The house should be the warmest and most comfortable place for us. The third point, which is a bit more abstract, is that possessing so much material wealth becomes an invisible burden on our shoulders that we cannot let go of. Now you can imagine, now there is a company in another city or another country offering you a certain job that you like, but now look at the total amount of items. With so much furniture and assets, it more or less makes you think twice, and invisibly, we are limiting our living space, only remaining within one city. City or country, as in my case, if tomorrow a company in London or New York offers me a job that I like, within a week I can bring all my belongings and go right away without worrying about anything. That is the free life that minimalist life brings to me, and in my opinion that is the greatest value that minimalist life brings to us. But besides that, there are still countless benefits. In addition, within the framework of a few minutes in this podcast, I can share with you some of the benefits of representation that it brings to my life. The first benefit is that this minimalist method helps increase the value of my life. I will say this through an example. On average, a quality suit will cost somewhere between $2,000 - $5,000. Similarly, a normal suit will cost from $500 - $700, and in the past I had a tendency to buy a lot of normal clothes, but now that I've switched to a minimalist lifestyle, I only have 1 or 2 sets in my wardrobe. But 1 to 2 quality suits, and because quality suits are meticulously sewn with very expensive fabrics, it's obvious that their lifespan is much more durable than normal suits. Often, for normal suits, I have to change them every 2 to 3 years. The ones I currently own are the ones I've been wearing for 5 years, and the quality is still good and almost perfect. During the same period of time 5 years ago, I had to buy ordinary suits again and again for it to be equivalent to this period of 5 years. Not to mention that every time I wear these vests, they fit my body tightly, making me feel very comfortable and confident every time I wear them. On the one hand, if you buy many sets, you won't be able to wear them many times, and eventually you will have to throw them away and buy new ones. On one hand, I can fully use the product I paid for, and every time I use it, it always brings comfort and confidence to me. Obviously, by using less, it makes me focus more on quality, and from there it increases the quality of my life, and this is not only true for the example above, but it is almost true for every item we own, from clothes, shoes or cars to household items. That's why now when I need to buy something I tend to choose the best possible items. The initial cost may be higher than the miscellaneous items, but considering the overall life of the item, I'm actually saving more. The second thing is living a minimalist life. It helps me save more. Also, as an example of clothes, in the past when I went to buy clothes, I had to spend a certain amount of time, go around looking for things that suit me, and then try them on again and again to see what suits I have. It fits my size. Even though I know my size, not everyone sews the correct size. Therefore I spent a lot of time and effort. And now, after applying the minimalist living method for many years, I can now optimize to a very optimal level. Through the process of filtering for many years, I have chosen the clothing brands that suit me best, corresponding to each brand of clothing I have ever purchased. It will save me a lot of time, and I no longer have the concept of wandering around randomly shopping anymore. I have a certain time frame. After a period of time, I will go buy a series of new items, and every time, I know clearly which brand I need to buy from and where that store is, even which shelf I need to buy the item on, and when I get there, I also know which brand and size it is. The size fits my body best, and in most cases I don't even need to try it on. So the total time I spend shopping for my furniture is now much shorter, and most importantly, all the items I buy are the best quality items, true to the style that I want. What I want most is that all the things I buy will be the ones I use 100%, no longer in the situation of buying them and then leaving them there without touching them like before. The third point is to save more. I already mentioned this idea above, which is that if I buy quality items, in terms of the total life cycle of the item, I save a lot. It's better than buying low-quality items, but I optimize this one more level. I know clearly what brands the items I need to buy are, so I have a list ready. Books to buy, and with some simple setup steps. From now on I have a notification system from the brands I like, so that every time I have a discount program, there are items that match. For items that are on my list, I will receive a notification, and so if needed, I will place an order, and thanks to that, in many cases I do not have to pay the full file price and can still buy the item I need to buy. The fourth point is minimalism. It helps me consider more every time I buy an item. I work in the field of customer experience, so I know quite well the tricks that stimulate users' shopping behavior, and because it is also my expertise, I can also build it for myself. A few tricks to combat this: for example, every time I need to buy something, instead of wandering around the website to find enough information, I will put that item on a list. I name that list the item I plan to buy, and then I temporarily forget about it if after a while my daily life still has things that make me need to use that item. I will rate that item 1 more star. When it has a certain amount of stars, I will buy that item. On the contrary, after a period of time when I review and see that there are still no stars, I will remove that item from the list. The reason why it is so difficult for me to buy a certain item is because for me, nowadays, every time I buy an additional item, I see it as another burden on my shoulder if the value it brings to my life is not enough to balance the burden. If it's added, I won't buy it. I'd rather lose a little comfort, but in return I have a lighter life, and I've also learned the habit of letting go. Listening to the word letting go, it sounds a bit heavy, but letting go here is what I'm talking about. It's the meaning of things from the past. There are a lot of things that I keep forever that can hold some memories. If it's gone, it's time to keep it. It just lies there, and wherever I go, I have to carry it with me. Now, after many years of living a minimalist life, I've learned some habits. I only keep the memories. I just have a concept in my head, or at best I will scan it and save it on my computer, and then I can get rid of that item and give it to other people who need that item more than I do, and there is an advantage. Another benefit of minimalism is that my house is always neat and tidy because I actually don't have many things to keep it messy, so every day when I wake up, I have a space to have breakfast. It's airy and clean, then I get to sit at a neat and tidy desk, and that kind of living environment creates a lot of positive energy for me, and at the same time I don't have to clean up much. Because like I said earlier, I don't have a lot of things to keep messy, but sometimes I want to be messy, which is even more difficult than neatness. And finally, what I've already said now, but because it is the most important thing that I repeat, it is a minimalist life that helps give me back the freedom that for me is the most valuable thing. Now I have the freedom to live anywhere I want. My inner luggage is very light, and every time I leave a place, I only bring along my belongings. Experience, but I didn't bring any other items to my life within the framework of a few dozen minutes today, so I can only talk about the positive things that minimalist life brings in terms of the only aspect is material. But minimalism actually needs other aspects, which are more minimalist in finance and minimalist in life motto. Even minimalist in way of thinking, in every aspect. Minimalism creates a lot of positive values for my life. If the journey to financial freedom helps me no longer depend on money, then the minimalist life helps me. For me to no longer depend on material things, these two tools are very valuable to me. Through some of my sharing in today's episode, I hope I have shown you the values that minimalism has brought to my life, and hopefully through that it has also helped me give you a little inspiration about this way of life. If you find this content useful, please share it with your friends. Thank you for watching, and see you again in the next episode.